Hello everyone, it is Toby here and we are doing something slightly different today. We are going to be taking a look at a Strongman events tier list that I have found online. It's got a hell of a lot of events, as you can see there, and we're going to go through them and I'm going to rank them from S tier all the way down to D tier in my own humble opinion as someone who loves watching Strongman and loves competing in it and training it and taking part. So there's not going to be any sort of rule base to this. I'm just going to go off vibes and we're going to see where things end up and how I rank things. And I know a few other YouTubers have done something similar with Strongman events. I know Alan Thrall did it based on the Strongman events you should incorporate into your program that have the most benefit. And the Strongman Historian also did a tier list as well. The way I'm going to do it is I'm going to just go off vibes. I'm going to go off whether I like the event to watch, like the event to train, find it fun, find it interesting, and all of that. So without further ado, let's jump right in with the arm over arm pull. Now, this for me is the epitome of a Strongman event. Just seeing what you can pull with your body, and in this case your arms, and seeing Brian Shaw pull that boat up the ramp super fast. This is an event that I've done a fair bit. I've pulled every single car my family owns arm over arm as well. It's super fun, super taxing, really good on the grip. I really like it. It's going in A tier. Now the next one on our list is arm wrestling, and I think as its own sport it's really good. Not something I'm personally into. In Strongman, where people don't have the technique and it's quite dangerous, not a fan. So this is going to go in D tier for me. Atlas Stone Press. Now this is a controversial one because I love it. I think it's really cool, but it is not as good as, say, like a block press. It's in a similar sort of vein. And the fact that you have to use tacky and stuff, and it's quite dangerous to drop it on you as well. It's not ideal, but I find it really entertaining to watch. I've also done this as well and found it fairly fun. I'm going to stick it in C tier. It's good. It's what Strongman is, lifting a huge rock over your head. But the risk to reward, maybe not. Okay, cool. Axle. Or is this specifically the Apollon's wheels? As I see, we've got Axle here coming up. So let's do it specifically the Apollon's wheels at the Arnold's then. Maybe this is Axle for reps and this was Axle for max. I don't know. But this setup just looks really cool. I think it's awesome. I love an Axle as an overhead test of strength. Really, really like it. It's one of the staple overhead movements of Strongman. And I love training it as well. I'm going to stick it up here in... let's put it in S. I like an Axle. S tier for me. It's one of the staples. It's up there. Cool. So this next one then is the deadlift for reps. It looks like possibly specifically Axle deadlift for reps with the big globes, World's Strongest Man and Giants Live and all of that. Again, deadlift staple, really visually appealing apparatus there. I like an Axle deadlift. Obviously this is still from the lower height, but I do like a higher height one. I think it looks impressive. Deadlift's a staple of Strongman. I'm going to put it in S tier in the sort of similar veins to the Apollon's wheels. It's iconic. It's a staple. It deserves to be there. So our next one then, let's treat this as the Axle for max, or just the general Axle. Very similar vein to the Apollon's wheels. I love an Axle. It's one of the staple overheads. I actually prefer an Axle for max than I do an Axle for reps because I just love seeing huge weights lifted overhead. So again, for me, this is going to go up here in S tier along with these others. Cool. So we got a back lift here now. Now these, it is not the most entertaining to watch, or I think the best event as part of a competition, but for a feat of strength and for something that I really want to do, a backlift is up there as one of the highest ones. But because it's not the best for competition, it's not the best visually. I mean, it's visually amazing, but as far as range of motion goes and all of that, it's not up there. I'm gonna have to put it in C tier, but it's really cool and I really want to try it. So that's why that's there. Okay, cool. So our next one then, I'm gonna treat as weight for height. I think is what that is. It might be just general sandbag toss, but I'm going to treat it as weight for height. And I really like this. I love throwing, and I love strongman throws in particular. This is going to be a staple of the video is me saying I love every single event, because I really do. But a weight for height for me, it's a good breaking competition. For the competitors, it's slightly easier, but it's still a very visually appealing, good spectacle. The only thing I wish is, in some of the weight for heights that we've had, I wish the weight was a little bit heavier. And we could almost do a weight for max at some point. So I think it's good. I think it's a staple. I think it should stay. I'm going to put it in B tier. I think is where it belongs. Cool. Bar bending. A similar vein to the back lift is it's a cool feat of strength, and it's a very good exhibition, but I really don't like it in a competition. It recently was at UK Strongest Man, and I wasn't a massive fan of it. So with that being said, I think I'm going to put it alongside the back lift in that it's cool, but not for competition. Like, it's a cool thing to try and a cool thing to do, but it can stay there and not a competition. So this next one then seems to be some form of Ukrainian deadlift, maybe a grip hold, something between the legs that's heavy anyway. It doesn't look like a duck walk or anything like that. So let's treat this as like a Ukrainian deadlift slash wrecking ball hold type thing, just a heavy weight between the legs. And again, I really like these. It's a unique setup for a deadlift. It's not quite S tier with these other sort of deadlift variations, but it's cool. It's a good feat of strength. It's actually a really good exercise, the Ukrainian deadlift, to do just in the gym. I like it, but I don't think it's up there with the other deadlifts. I do think, however, it is above bar bending and back lift. So I'm going to put it in B tier. It's something we don't see all that often, a Ukrainian deadlift, but I'd like to see more of it. I think it's pretty cool. So our next one then seems to be, I'm not even familiar with which competition this is from, but it seems to be like a Viking press but in a bench press format. I think that's awesome. I think we should definitely have something like that at a competition, a lying bench Viking press type thing, like a chest press machine. We've had the standing one, but I think this for a lying one looks really, really cool. So yeah, I'm gonna say, having never seen this in competition and never tried it, I think it's a cool idea. I think I'm happy with it living in B tier, just middle of the road. One of those events that I'd like to see in a one-off competition. Maybe not every single competition, but definitely would be cool to see tried. So yeah, definitely agree with that being in B tier for me. This here looks just like a general gym bench press. It's not really a strongman event for me. It's a great strength builder and a fun lift to do, and everyone does it. But as far as strongman goes, it's not the most visually appealing, and I wouldn't want to see a barbell bench press in a strongman comp. That's what powerlifting's for. So in the same vein as the back lift and the bar bend, I like it as an exercise, and I like to do it, and it has benefit over those, but it's not for a strongman comp, in my opinion. So I'm going to put it just above the back lift and the bar bend, and have it sort of here. Like, it's in the same tier, but it is above those. I'm not going to order every single one like that, but I want that there for that reason. Barbell curl, next. Strongman event, not a strongman event. Straight in D tier. No more to say. It's not got that much benefit like a bench press has. It doesn't belong in strongman, so it's there and it's staying there. Cool. This one looks like some form of engine or something weird press, and again, same as the Atlas stone press, I'd love to see it, not often, but I would love to see it, and just pressing weird things is a great thing. So I'm going to put it in the C tier with the Atlas stone press, in the same vein that I think it's cool, not for every single time, probably quite difficult to judge. That's the same as the Atlas stone press, but I'd like it there. Cool, a block lift. Now these are something that we've seen a bit of a resurgence of recently, and I'm all for it. I love a block lift. Again, quite difficult to judge, but in my opinion better than an Atlas stone press, and I think belongs in C tier. One of those events I don't want to see all the time, but I certainly love to see it here and there. I'm going to stick it there. Cool. Alright, our next one then looks like a telephone book rip. Again, cool feat of strength. Definitely one we don't want in competition. Even less so than I'd say bar bend and backlift. Like, it's just cool to do, but it's not a strongman competition's cool to do. So I'm going to stick it in D tier, I think. Like, it's even less cool than a backlift and a bar bend in my opinion, and it has no business being in a strongman competition, so that's why it's going there. Brick lift up next, again in the same vein as the bar bend, backlift and telephone book rip, is it seems to be one of these things that's a cool feat of strength, but not for strongman competitions. Like, I'd love to do it. It looks like a cool feat of strength to do. And for that, I'm going to stick it in C tier, because again, I prefer it over the book lift. But yeah, it's not anywhere near B, A, or S. Whereas, like, those are the sort of events I actually really want to see in competition quite a bit. So I'm being quite harsh on these, but I think it's just. So yeah, our next one then is the caber toss. Again, this is a really cool feat of strength, and I guess could be in strongman at some point, but for me, again, Highland Games event, fairly difficult to judge, I think. A lot of technique rather than strength. Again, I don't want to put them all in C tier, but I think this does belong in C tier. So I'm going to stick it there. And this next one, I'm not even sure what that event is. I've never seen that event before in my life. So please let me know in the comments what this is and where I'm missing it from. But I'm just going to whack it down in D tier, not knowing what it is, just so it's out the way. But if it is really cool, then I'm happy to move it. I just can't really tell what it is from here. The pictures are quite small, so you'll have to forgive me there. But we are back with another staple of the car walk, and I think this is straight away an S tier exercise. It is everything that strongman is. It's heavy, it's visually cool, it's great in competition. I think a car walk is up there in the S tier for me. It's just, when you think of strongman, you think of a car walk. It's really cool. I love it. And I wish it makes as many, keeps making as many appearances as it has been, because it certainly belongs up there. And in a similar vein, the car roll, this one looks as if it's had its engine taken out, so it's not really a proper car roll. No, I'm kidding, of course. But yeah, car roll again, it's cool. I don't think it's in the same vein as a car walk, where it is cool, but I don't think we need to see it as often, and I don't think it's as like easy to judge and as easy to replicate and do. But as a strongman event, it's fantastic. It's definitely A tier. It's close to S for me. Just the fact we don't see it a lot, and it's very difficult to try yourself and train, is why I'm leaving it in the A tier, but it is, again, fantastic. Cool, so again, we've got another deadlift variation here. We've got the wagon deadlift, and again, this just looks really cool. It's peak strongman of just pick up something heavy and see what you can do with it. And instantly, my heart is drawn to B tier, where it's like, it's not what I want to see all the time, and it's probably fairly convoluted to judge, and I can see there be a lot of controversy there. But I want to do it. Anyone who does strongman probably wants to do it, and I think it's cool to watch, so it can go straight in B tier. Circus barbell, something I wish we saw a lot more of, and I wish we do see some more of soon. For me, it's A tier. It's just because we don't see it often, and the axle sort of covers off the impressive overhead of like a bar type thing. But circus barbell for me is one of those events which I have no idea why we don't see more of it. It's really cool, it's really visually appealing, and it's really transferable to people who want to try it at home. Like, it's very relatable strength, and certainly I think we should see more of it. I'd love to see what some of the top guys could put up on just a barbell, even if it's, yeah, circus barbell. I love it. I don't know why we don't see more of it. So yeah, that's an A tier exercise, and I wish we could see some more of it. In a similar vein, the Conan's Reel has made a bit of a resurgence lately and been in a fair few comps. I really like it. Really grueling task, really hefty, gritty strongman event. It's A tier for me. And there's not much more to say. I think it's solid. I'm glad we see it fairly often. It's just a cool event. Now we've got the crucifix hold. Any hold for time is a slightly more boring event, but I don't think that is without merit. I think it's not super feat of strength, but I do like, yeah, holding things out to side for as long as you can. I think it's cool. For me, it's going to live in B tier is where I want to put it, because I think it has its place in strongman comps as long as it's not super often. Super easy to train yourself, and I do like it as a feat of strength as well. Some people really don't like it. I do, and I like training these sorts of things because I'm a maniac. So that's why I'm gonna stick it in B tier, and feel free to argue with me. Our next one then is Circus Dumbbell or Circus Dumbbell Medley. I'm not sure if we've got another Circus Dumbbell coming up, so I will treat this as the overall Circus Dumbbell. It's not up there with me with the other overhead presses full feat of strength. It's very technique based, but that being said, I like seeing it. I'm glad we're not seeing it as much as we were, but I do like it, and it's going to sit in A tier. It has its place. It's cool to train, cool to do, but because it's very technique based and strongman is a strength sport, it doesn't require the most top end strength to do. Obviously you have to be very strong to do it, that goes without saying, but yeah, it lives in A tier comfortably for me. Our next one then, the deadlift ladder. Now I really like this as a deadlift variation. In fact, I'm going to put it in S tier. I think it's a refreshing take on a deadlift. I like the speed aspect, and like, to people who think that it should be easy because they see the weights and they're not up there with the deadlift for reps weights or the deadlift for max weights, it's a completely different animal. It's hard, it's heavy, and you have to be quick. I really like it. I think it adds a nice dynamic to it, so I'm going to stick it up in S tier. Now, a controversial one, the walking stones. We've seen them a lot recently, but I think personally they are in the same vein as the bar bend, the back lift, the brick lift, this sort of area where it's a fantastic feat of strength, but God, is it boring in competition. I'd rather just see a heavy farmers, like, completely honestly. I think the Dinnies and the Nickels are really cool to lift and walk with up in Scotland as a one-off feat of strength, their own thing, but I don't think they belong in as many strongman comps as they've been in recently, personally. So yeah, sue me. But our next one, yep, the double dumbbell. Brian Shaw here, looking very bold. Double dumbbell is an interesting one. It's very bicep heavy exercise, this, cleaning it. But I like it. I'm not going to put it down in C or D, because I think, again, like the crucifix hold, it has its place. And I think as part of a medley, as we've seen it before, it's quite good, and I think we shouldn't take it away. But I don't think we should see it in every single competition or really that regularly at all. But when it turns up, I think it's cool. And again, it's something I've tried as well. It's difficult. It's a different level of stability. So I like it. It's just not one of the best for me. So we got chain drag up next. This is an event that I like. Just dragging something heavy. I'm tempted to put it in S tier for me, because I really like these sorts of things, but I know it's so grueling to do. And I am going to leave it in A tier, because I'm looking at the other things I've got in A tier, and I'd consider this along the same vein. Like, I don't want it in every comp, but it's really visually appealing. It's really cool, and I think we should see it in a fair few comps at least. So yeah, that's living there for me. Now, the controversial one, which I thought might come up, is the duck walk. The duck walk for me, I love the duck walk. I love training it. I think it's kind of cool to see, but it belongs in C tier realistically. I like it, but just because I like it doesn't mean that it's a good event. It should not be in as many, like, it shouldn't be in every comp. It shouldn't be in even every comp a year. But when it does turn up, I'm not mad at it. I think it's an alright event. It does look stupid. It leaves bruises, but it's grueling and it's tough, and I like that for it. So duck walk for me is going to sit in C tier, similar to the Atlas stone press. Like, it's cool, I've done it, but we shouldn't see it that often. Okay, here is circus dumbbell. as well as this one. This one is, I noticed, from the world record. So I'm going to treat this as circus dumbbell for max. And like before I'd seen that World's Strongest Man recently where they did circus dumbbell for max, I would have put this much higher. But just because of how hard it is to judge, and it is that split-second decision, it's very easy to cause controversy. So I'm going to stick it in B tier, similar to the weight for height. I like it turning up, and I think it's cool when it does turn up, providing that it's judged properly. And because it's difficult to do that, similar to these lifts here, difficult to judge, I'm going to leave it in B tier for circus dumbbell for max. I think a reps event or a ladder like we've got here is much easier to judge and much less costly if you do mess up the judging. So I think that's why this is just a tier below that one for circus dumbbell for max. Yeah, that's where I'm going to leave it. Elephant bar deadlift. Again, I think for me, seeing like a suitless deadlift with straps on the elephant bar, huge bar, tons of weight, it's just iconic, straight in S tier. The elephant bar deadlift is one of the most iconic strongman events, as it should be. And another S tier event for me is the farmer's walk. I love a farmer's walk. I wish farmer's walk turned up more than it does. It is such a good event, not only to do, but to watch and to train. It's so much fun. It's super beneficial. Straight in S tier. Staple of strongman there. So this one, yeah, it's a Fingal's finger. And these, for me, live in the same vein as the C tier ones, where it's cool. I don't need to see it every comp. But no, you know what? It's A tier. It's in this vein for me, where I don't want to see it every comp, but it's cool, and I'm glad we still see it. There's something super satisfying about flipping over a Fingal's finger, so that's why it's going to go A tier as just a strongman event for me. Cool, yeah. So next one up is the Flintstone barbell. So the behind the neck lift. Lots of jerks happening here. Again, this one very similar to circus barbell in that I wish we see it more, but the fact we don't see them clean it from the floor makes me want to put it in B tier. I prefer an overhead when it comes from the floor. And I don't find behind the neck pressing, like jerking and stuff, as cool and as impressive as front rack. Even though it absolutely is, and I don't want to take away from anyone who has a very good behind the neck press, but for me, it's going to go in B tier. It's cool when it turns up. I don't need to see it in every comp, but it is nice when we have it. So this one here, I thought was originally Fingal's finger, but I'm guessing it's possibly like a flag hoist, where you pull from the base of it to hoist it up. And this one's an interesting one. My initial gut reaction is in C tier along with these exercises, but I've changed my mind. I'm going to put it in B tier because I think it's a cool event, and I think if done well and done properly, it definitely deserves its place, and it lives alongside these events where I don't want to see them in every comp. I don't even necessarily want to see them every year, but where they turn up and when they're done right, it's really cool, and I like them. So yeah, B tier we're gonna stick with on that one. Cool. So yeah, frame carry. Again, same as farmers. S tier exercise. Love to do it. Love to watch it. Think they should make the frames a bit heavier sometimes. But I do like it, and I like it when they go up the ramp as well. So that's why that's living up there. Not much more to say on that. We've got, this looks to be possibly front squat. Now again, front squat, if this is indeed front squat, then I think for me, it's going to live in C tier. A similar vein to the bench press. It's a fantastic exercise to utilise in your training, but as an event to watch, I don't think it's it. I don't think we can go there for that. So I'm gonna leave it in C. And sorry if I'm brushing over some of these quite quickly. As you can see, we've got a lot to go. So I'm trying to make this video not a million years long, but it'll be as long as it is. So front hold, again, it's going to go with the same crucifix hold, and people might get up in arms about that because I know it's an unpopular event, but it's not the most entertaining to watch, but I like to do it, and I think it has its place in strongman, providing that we keep it few and far between, and providing that it's not any form of decider in a comp or anything, because it is just true grit and determination, which I think is important in Strongman. But it is not the most strength based. But I do like it. I have a soft spot for it, so it's staying there. The dead hang over water. Now, this is cool, but it's a D tier exercise. I think it's too bodyweight reliant. I think it's too boring to watch, and I don't think it has its place in a strongman comp. I think it's a great grip feat, and I think it's fantastic to do as training, but as part of a strongman comp, especially World's Strongest Man, nah, not for me. I can see why people would like it, but for me it's D tier. It's in the same vein as sort of arm wrestling. Like, it's got its place, but it's not World's Strongest Man for me. Whereas the Hercules hold, again, I love grip, but I'm not going to put it in A or S tier. I'm going to stick it with the front hold, where it's a good event. Don't get me wrong, and I like the test of grip, but it can be quite boring to watch. But it is really visually appealing. So it's going to live in B tier for me, but it is cool. Like, that's the thing with these, it is cool. The hip lift, the big red rocket here, this is the exact same logic as the back lift. Cool feat of strength, cool thing to do, but not a strongman event as such. It's going to live in C tier. Yeah, tiny range of motion, not the most entertaining, not worth for a competition, but for a feat of strength, absolutely. Hammer tire deadlift, again, iconic, same thing as the elephant bar deadlift. Everyone loves a max heavy deadlift that looks huge, looks impressive. S tier. The wind tunnel, the wind walk, D tier. Don't know what they were thinking. Like, yeah, it's hilarious to watch, but it turns the sport of strongman, which is trying to take itself a bit more seriously, and turns it into like gladiators, game show type vibes. And it's not even an event I want to try. It's not an event I want to see back. It was cool to do once, but it can stay down in D tier. Husafell stone carry. Now again, this for me is a straight S tier exercise. It's got the history, it's got the entertainment, it's got the strength. It's super hard, super taxing on the body, and it is the epitome of what strongman should be, which is carrying something heavy until your body gives in. So Husafell is S tier for me. Now, incline log is an interesting one. Incline log is something that used to be done a lot back in the day and hasn't been done recently, and I agree with that. And I'm going to stick it in C tier, but not because it's a feat of strength that's cool and shouldn't be in competition. I think it had its time, but I don't think we need it anymore. Again, it's a good gym accessory, but that's all it is for me. So it's going to stay there for now. This is the barrel deadlift and barrel squat. I'm going to rank these as the same because they're very similar. Two super iconic pieces of apparatus, and two things that I'm glad we've seen a return of, and I really like them. They're going to both go in A tier as a pair here, because I think both are absolutely worthy. I love the machine thing with the kegs dropping in every time. It's super cool, but I don't want to see it every comp. But it's not a GOAT strongman exercise, but it is there. It's cool. I like it. A kettlebell press. Now this is interesting. It's very similar to a dumbbell thing, and I think the dumbbell is better because it looks more visually appealing, and that's why this is going to go in C. But it is a good feat of strength. It's a good training accessory. But again, the dumbbell replaces the need for it. And it just doesn't look that impressive. So yeah, C tier. Leg press. So I know we've had the car leg press from Brian Shaw, and leg press as a general exercise is cool, and I like seeing what strongmen can leg press. I think it's going to live in the B tier with these exercises, where I love to see them every once in a while, just to see what the strongmen can do, but as part of every competition it's not there for me. But I'm going to live it, yeah, with these lot, where it's the cool one-off events that I like, but we shouldn't see all the time. Loading medley is going to go straight in S tier for me. Simple reason of, it's fast-paced, it's exciting, the multiple implements has that challenge, it's heavy, it's cardio, it's everything strongman should be, and I really like it. It's staying up there. Now, Austrian oak, I'm going to treat this possibly as a just log press in general. If we've got log ladder here, then this is straight log press. I think you know where this is going to go. It's going to live in S tier. It's a staple of Strongman. It's super functional, super strong, super impressive looking. Log press, S tier. We should see it multiple times a year in multiple comps, and absolutely rightly S tier. Log ladder, I'm also going to put in S tier, like the deadlift ladder. It is a great take on the log press, super challenging, lots of cardio there. Again, really like it. It's going to live up here in the S tier exercises for me. Atlas stones. So this is Atlas stone over hitching post. So I'm gonna treat this as max Atlas stones because I can see we've got the Atlas stone run. Max stone is an A tier exercise. We don't need to see it every comp. I wish we saw it more than we did. Staple of Strongman, visually impressive, super cool, awesome, love it. Very excited to see some more max Atlas stone coming up. Murder ball, D tier. Don't need to talk about it. Man on man Strongman events. No, not for me. In fact, we can skip ahead and put this one in D tier as well. I don't like the man-on-man events at all. That's not what Strongman is. Strongman's an individual sport. You should not be fighting against anyone else. Strongman is about beating yourself, so that is going to stay there. And this big boy is a natural stone lift, and that is going to go straight up in S tier. And you may think, what? Like natural stone beating Atlas stone? So far, yes. It is something that anyone can train. Anyone can find a big rock and lift it. It is something I wish we saw more of. I think it's exactly what Strongman should be. A big thing that you just find and try and lift. I wish we saw more of it. It's staying in S tier. Sue me. Dinny stone walk. I'm assuming that was the nickel stones earlier. Same place, same argument. That's staying there. The Norse hammers, so the finger with the thing on the end. I think these are going to live, if the Fingal's finger in A tier, this is going to live in B tier, just because they're the same thing but more dangerous. So I like the visual appeal of the big hammerhead on the end, but I think that should have just been visual. Like, it shouldn't have had that much weight at the end. If it had like a big plastic hammerhead on it, or something, like something obviously not plastic that's going to break, but just for visuals it would look cool. But because it made it so unbalanced and so top heavy, it's just it's not great. Power stairs. Now again, this one for me is going to live in B tier because I don't really like. It's cool, but I don't get the hype. Like, it's come back and everyone's super hyped about it, and it's in the same vein as like I'd like to see it. Don't get me wrong. Like, all of these events in here, I would not mind seeing in the one-off competitions at all, but I just don't think it's as good as everyone seems to make it out to be, and that's just a personal opinion. So I'm going to leave it there. Like, it's cool and I like it, but I think it's not that visually appealing to just like hop up some stairs. It looks a bit silly. So yeah, I'm going to leave it there. I think I'm happy with it. It's in the same place as weight for height, which I think is apt. So the Flintstone deadlift. Oh, this one is a weird one because it sort of exists on its own vein. Like, I'm going to stick it in B tier as well because yes, it's a deadlift and it looks cool and it's got the cool Flintstones on it, but it's not really different to any of the sort of deadlift in my opinion. So it's going to go in B. Like, I don't know why it necessarily has to be a Flintstone deadlift. And if we're going on, I want to see it every comp. I don't. It's cool to have the one-off. It's similar to the wagon deadlift, I guess, where, yeah, it's cool to have as a one-off. Let's leave it at that. So the safe lift or yoke press we've got here, this for me is A tier. I really like it. I think it's really cool, really visually cool as well. It's in the same vein as the circus barbell, where it's not the best overhead, where we got axle and log, but it's up there as one of the cool ones. And you might question me putting it above block press, but I think it's easier to judge as a referee, so that's why that's there. And I just think it's cool. I do. I think it's really cool. So silver dollar deadlift. For me, B tier. I don't like how whippy the bar is. I don't like it. I love an elevated deadlift, don't get me wrong. I just don't find the silver dollar deadlift that visually appealing. I'd much rather sooner see just a normal deadlift, so it's going to live in B tier for me. Shield carry, it's going to go straight in S tier alongside the Husafell stone. Carrying anything heavy for a long period of time is what Strongman's about. It's staying up there. What is this one? Is this some sort of throw? Throw for distance, maybe? I can't really tell what he's doing. Yeah, it seems to be a throw, possibly. If it is a throw for distance, then I'm going to stick it in B tier with the throw for height. I think we should see more throws for distance in Strongman. And that's my opinion. We don't see enough of them. That stone throw they did at the Arnold's a while back is not it. It was close, but it's not it. And I think, yeah, we need to see more, but not all the time. Similar to this bench press, where it's like, it's cool, and we need to see it more, I reckon, but not all the time. This one seems to be a seated dumbbell press. Not sure really what's going on there. I'm just going to stick it in D tier, because I don't know why you'd ever have a seated dumbbell press apart from in the disabled classes, which is absolutely fair enough. But for overall strongman, there's no reason to do it seated. It can stay there. The girl squat. Now, in my opinion, this is straight in B tier. It's cool. There's a reason why we haven't seen it since. I really like the machine squats like this. I think we should see more of them with different things up top. But yeah, the regular squat for me, it's gonna go in S tier. Actually, I miss it greatly. Like, the big globe squat is something that I really miss from World's Strongest Man, and I think it should come back, and that's why it's gonna go in S tier for me. And something that's not going to go in S tier is the Steinborn squat. I think this is a really cool feat of strength, and I think it's a really cool lift. But in the same vein as all these other ones where I've said that exact thing for, it's going to live in C tier. As a one-off feat of strength, fantastic. In a competition, not so much. This looks like it's that unspunnen stone throw. Yeah, C tier. That weird stone throw for me was not it. It was quite boring to watch. It could have been handled a lot better. But as a one-off cool thing to do, I thought it was really cool. And here we got a natural stone press. For me, this is going to go into B tier. It is above an Atlas stone press, which has disappeared from the top. Because an Atlas stone press is smooth, you have to use tacky. A natural stone press is more akin to the block press, where it's easier to get a grip on. It's all about working out the stone and how to press it, and I love that sort of thing, so B tier for me. Atlas Stone Series is going to be A tier, along with Max Atlas Stone. I think why it's not S tier, even though it's iconic and one of the best, is we just see it too much. It decides too many things, and I think that's the sentiment of a lot of people who do Strongman and like Strongman now. It's just too much, so that is why it's gonna remain in A tier instead of S tier, where it probably should have been if it didn't ruin so many comps. In fact, I'm going to zoom out just a little because we are losing the whole tier list. The stone to shoulder is this. Again, I really like it. I think it belongs in B tier for me, where it's a fantastic and really cool event. But I don't need to see it all the time. I think just general natural stone lifting, which belongs in S tier, is much better. So lifting it over a hitching post or lifting it in general. I think to a shoulder is difficult for judging. It is cool, but I think if you're doing, I'd much rather just see a heavier stone over a hitching post than a stone to shoulder. But that's just my opinion. This one, I can't even remember what. Oh, this was sumo. This Kaz one, yeah. Straight in D tier. We don't want man versus man events in Strongman, in my opinion. Sandbag to shoulder in the exact same place as a stone to shoulder. I think a stone to shoulder is even cooler than it, but I think if we're doing a sandbag, it should be either really heavy over a hitching post or part of a loading medley. I don't need to see it to shoulder. I just don't think that's very visually appealing for me, but for some people, really like it. Truck push is up next, and it's something we don't see as often as truck pull, and I really like it. It's going to go in A tier, along with these events that I wish we kind of saw more of, but not in every single comp. Pushing a huge vehicle is what Strongman's all about, and yeah, truck pull even is S tier. Pulling super heavy trucks and planes and everything, it's what Strongman's all about. It's really cool. I really like it. They just need to make it heavy enough for World's Strongest Man. It's what they need to do. Cool. Yeah, tug of war again. Strongman shouldn't be about competing against other people. It should be about competing against yourself on every event and seeing how that lines you up against others. You shouldn't ever be competing against someone for an event. That's not the spirit of Strongman, in my opinion. Tire flip. Now, this one might cause some controversy if I don't put it straight in D tier because the amount of injuries it causes, but I'm going to put it in B tier. I do want to still see it, but it has to be done right. It has to be done in the right conditions. It has to be done with the right weight tyre, and I know it causes a lot of injuries, but it is cool. It's accessible as well. You can train it. I find a lot of benefit in tyre flipping, but you just have to be sensible with it. If it's wet, don't touch it. Yeah, that's why it's going to live in B tier rather than A or S. I don't want to see it every comp, don't get me wrong, but once every couple years, I do like to see a big tyre flip. Viking press for me is going to go. It's going to go in A tier. I think as an overhead press for reps event, it's really cool and I really like it. I think it's difficult to judge with the double dipping, but I think its spectacle saves it. I really like a Viking press and I like doing a Viking press. And I think it lives on the same vein as our other overhead press things here, where we've got log and axle as our two front runners, but any of these other ones in the A tier are absolutely acceptable substitutions and we should see them in more comps, I think. Viking press maybe not so much. But yeah, our next one seems to be a loading race in water. D tier. Water shouldn't just... We don't need water. Okay, so this is weight for height. So that was actually a sandbag toss medley then, I guess. But honestly, for both, weight for height and sandbag toss medley live in the same category for me. B tier. I love a vertical throw. And I prefer a weight for height than I do a sandbag toss medley, just because people are getting too good at them now. But we should still see them in comps, just not super duper often. Maybe once a year, possibly, for me. I think we see too many throws at the minute. The Wheel of Pain, straight away an S tier. It's just so cool. Strongman should be about moving huge equipment that people just see and go, what? That is mental. And that is exactly what the Wheel of Pain is. I think it's so cool. I think it's the coolest thing anyone's ever built for Strongman, and it should make a return for sure. Wheelbarrow runs. Now I might be biased because I've just done one of these and won one of these in comp, but this is an A tier exercise. We should see it more. I think it's cool. I don't know why we don't see it more. It's like a farmer's frame type event, and I think it's nice. I really do like it. I think A tier is exactly where it should live. Personally, I think it's a great feat of strength, as well as a fun event, and one pretty much anyone could train as well, because most people have a wheelbarrow or can get their hands on one. So it's a cool substitute for a farmer's or frame if you don't have a farmer's or frame to train on. So I like it. It's staying there. Here is the Wrecking Ball hold, and this is for me is going to live alongside the Hercules hold and all the other endurance events where they're not the most visually appealing to watch, but they have their place. And I think grip strength and endurance and digging deep are definitely parts of the strongman sport. So that's why these digging deep events, even though they're fairly boring to watch, I think they need to be a part, because strongman's as much of a mental battle as it is a physical battle of strength, and that's where this sort of stuff comes in. And I do actually like them, just not every single comp because people get tired of them, myself included. This one, is this a wrist roll? Interesting. Okay, that's what it looks like to me anyway. That is a C tier one, where any of these C tier ones, the odd comp possibly, but personally they're just an exercise that either could be done in the gym or is just a feat of strength to be done sidelined from a competition. I think that's where this sort of thing comes in. I don't think it belongs in strongman necessarily. I think it's cool and it's a cool idea, but not the most entertaining for me. And finally, the yoke is going in S tier. Same as the car walk. It is iconic strongman event. It's super heavy, super difficult, and requires moving, brace, super strong legs, and I think it's a staple. So that is my tier list. What do you guys think? If I zoom out a little so you can see the whole thing. Have I made any glaring mistakes? Have I done anything wrong? What do you think? What do you reckon? I think I've nailed this based on my criteria I set on myself, just vibes. We've got our staples here that are S tiers, should be in multiple comps a year, should turn up loads, are the core foundations of what strongman is. Then we've got our A tiers, these events that turn up fairly regularly, and as they should. They're pretty cool, and yeah, I think Atlas Stones again only got dragged down because they show up too much, but again, wouldn't be mad if any of these show up in comp. And the B tier, again, these are ones that I'd like to see in the odd competition, but not all the time. I think they have a valid place in the strongman, and I think, yeah, I wouldn't be mad if they turned up in comp, just not all the time. Then C tier, again, these ones are the sort of ones where they might end up in a comp once every 5, 6, 7 years, and I wouldn't be mad at them, but I don't think they have their place as part of a competition most of the time. But they are cool feats of strength nonetheless, and do belong to be in the same conversation as the sport of strongman, because they are cool and good feats of strength. And then the D tier are either ones that I just didn't really understand or don't really belong in strongman, in my opinion. Yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed. 47 minutes, just under an hour. So yeah, appreciate you if you stayed to the end. If you agreed or disagree with me, leave it in the comments down below. But otherwise, I've been Toby. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll get back to our normal training videos soon. I promise you. I just wanted to do this for something a little bit different. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.